Shay, I see you. Give me thumbs up if you can hear me. JJ, I see you. Young fellas, I see you. Make sure y'all pay attention. I see you, mama. Shay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Welcome to episode 73 of the Positive Impact Podcast, where we talk about all topics relevant to the game I love. I am your host, Terrell Dozier, and today's episode is brought to you by City of Guards and my man Yusuf Abdul Ali. I appreciate the sweatshirt, and also brought to you by Manchild, the documentary, A Dream Deferred, that features my guest today. My guest today is a basketball legend. You might not have seen him in the NBA, but if you are a true hoops head, you know who my guest, Schea Cotton, is. Please welcome Schea Cotton. There he is. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, how are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, Terrell.
Nah, man, I appreciate you coming on, man, and making this happen, man, making this happen.
Absolutely.
No doubt. First things first, man, I always ask my guests, man, we in a crazy time right now. How you getting along during this pandemic?
Staying busy, staying out the way, man. I just finished my walk. I walked about 4 miles this morning. Trained one of my young boys that I train 5 days a week for 2 hours. So we was up about 6:30. So I like to get ahead of the game. I feel good. Obviously the anxiety and the frustration in this time, a lot of innocent people dying, a lot of people, with pre-existing conditions that are passing away. So I think it's imperative right now for us to take care of ourselves and, just kind of quarantine and bunker down.
No question about it, man. So I don't even want to waste no more time, man. I'm so excited to talk to you today. A lot older, a little older than you, but definitely knew that, I'm a historian of the game. I know who you are, man, and know your story. I've watched the documentary, obviously filled in some blanks for me, but let's kind of go back, you know what I mean? So everybody knows you as Schea Cotton, right? The basketball star, but let's go back to Peck Park, right? And let's talk about how we started off on the baseball field, man. So talk about growing up out there and how you got into athletics.
Man, I was a baseball player from young. I was a right fielder. I could throw, could hit pretty good. Played a couple of years. And basically, sports was to keep me and my brother out of trouble. It was an active time in the LA Harbor area. Gang banging and dope dealing was prevalent. So there was a lot of things that could deter us from our goals. And sports kind of kept us on the straight and narrow. My mother and father worked hard to teach us to be men of integrity and strong faith. And, they accomplished their goals. So, to be here today is a blessing, but it wasn't no walk in the park. Peck Park was the beginning. I got bored with baseball, and I decided to pick the rock up. I would always play on the playground with the older guys, so I knew I had a feel for the game and I could play a little bit. I just didn't know to what capacity. When I put the baseball down and picked the rock up, that was it, man. It was like a natural feel. You know, I had a lot of aggression already. I was a guy that wasn't scared, so I challenged myself, play against older guys, bigger, stronger guys, you know, to really test my ability and to see how good I could be at this. So, you know, the Park was the beginning. Then I graduated into the Slam and Jam era, which is where all the guys in the LA area would play. Izzy Washington was the head guy that started that program. Rest in peace, he passed away. But it was a great thing because it saved a lot of guys growing up in the LA area from the streets and, you know, things that we fall victim to in North America in impoverished situations growing up.
No question about it, man. So, you know, you and your brother played a lot of basketball, and your brother James is older than you, a good player in his own right. But you kind of came up fast. You know what I'm saying? And so it's superlatives, so many superlatives that have been thrown around for you, right? Like the biggest one is the LeBron before LeBron. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
Shea was a pro at, we heard Baron Davis, Paul Pierce, everybody, like who these kids know and how these pros talk about you though. Like they pay
right,
homage to you.
right.
So, it's so many things that happened and you came up so quick. So like in the day to day, you say, yeah, I got up and I trained this kid 5 days a week, right? So, it was a lot of trainers and everything like that. But back when, when I was growing up and even when you were growing up, there weren't a lot of trainers as there is today.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about you and your brother's time spent with Marv Marinovich, who was kind of like, was way out there with his, with his techniques early on and stuff like that. So I want you to talk about training with him for a little bit.
Marv, rest in peace. He just passed away. He was great for me. I mean, it was right on time. He was innovative. He had Eastern European style methods of training, a lot of bear and super cat work. Vertimax today is nothing compared to what I used to do. I mean, I
Right.
did the workout upside down with no shoes on just to develop the strength in your feet, for the explosion when you touch the floor and you got to separate or elevate. And it made a big difference. I was already an athletic kid. I worked hard. With him incorporated into my program, it just took me to another level. So a lot of guys shied away from him because he was an in-your-face, get after it, no excuses type of guy. But I was brought up that way. My father was a stickler, and he was hard on me. So it prepared me not only for that type of training, but just life, discipline and being a person of integrity and really showing up every day, coming early, staying late, that type of thing. That's really a lost art today.
Right. And so what he implemented in you, is that what you implement to the kids that you train today? You know what I mean? Do you scale it back a little bit, or you strictly embody him in your workouts today?
It's a case by case basis. That's a great question. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of trainers out there, but I tell people I'm not a trainer, I'm a mentor. So I wear a lot of hats, and this is a 360 approach. What we do here, I'm up in your face, and I'm testing you. It's a mental battle that the kids go through when they're dealing with my training, and it's how long can you sustain at the highest level of your intensity in your training, which is going to translate in the game. If I train at 55, 60%, that 100 is not going to be there when you need it. So you got to train at 150 and keep that barometer up there for as long as you can throughout the workout, and then start to develop that mental, emotional muscle at the same time. That's going to prepare you for life. I'm not teaching them the game of basketball. They're being taught the game of life.
Right. Nah, I love that. I love that. So, I mean, obviously, after 8th grade, you're the top kid in California, no question about it. So did you know that you were going to go to St. John Bosco, or were there a lot of schools after you at first
There was a
when you
lot. I
made your
mean,
high school decision?
Crenshaw, Dominguez, Long Beach Poly, all the schools in the city. I came up in this city. I didn't run from nobody. So all the schools knew, about me. It was just a matter of where I was going to go. Growing up, the public school system was a little different for me. They were talking about taking out sports because of the funding at that time. So I started getting nervous, decided to go to a private school. So I started at St. John Bosco. It wasn't working out at that time with the group that I came in with. And I knew I had a better opportunity somewhere else and that I wanted to play. I knew I was good enough, and I wasn't going to deal with politics sitting on the bench behind somebody that I knew I was 10 times better than. So I decided to transfer out and went to Mater Dei right before the season started. And it was right on time. I mean, we did 2 years, some of the best years of my life. basketball wise. I still have relationships with a lot of my teammates. Still talk to my coach, Coach McKnight, from time to time. It's a perennial powerhouse. You know, I went in there as a freshman, and I made my name right off the bat. I didn't play for the first month. I had to sit behind one of the seniors, Josh Porter. But after they got tired of seeing me annihilate them in practice, no disrespect, it was time to step up, you know, to the plate. And I answered the call. And from that point, it was an upward trajectory. But people need to remember that I was already nationally known in the AAU circuit before I even started in high school. And, you know, so the confidence was at an all-time high. You know, I was playing against Magic Johnson and all the NBA guys at 15 at the UCLA men's gym, you know, running with the NBA players. I was the only high school guy on the court. So that is bigger than people give it credit for, because that was unheard of then. And I was 15 years old playing against Kenny Anderson, who's a New York City legend, one of the best ever, another lefty like myself, whom I'm close to today. We talk. I actually talked to him yesterday. You know, guys like Jimmy Jackson in his prime, Eddie Jones, you know, on and on and on. So that's kind of where we are. I'm gonna keep doing the interview, but I have my barber's here. I'm gonna get a cut, so I'm gonna actually thank you. I'm gonna take my hat off, and then I'm gonna just continue. Wearing a lot of hats, man. It's been hectic, so pardon me.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. So two great, phenomenal years at Mater Dei.
Say again?
2 great years at Mater Dei, and then you go back to St. John Bosco for your junior year,
right?
And you get hurt. So we talked about the upward trajectory, right? And then we know, like, you know, an injury could go one way or another. So when you first got hurt, was that like the first time like you seriously got hurt? And
yes.
What did that do? What did that do to you? What did that do to you mentally?
It tested me. You know, I was in a position where I was just kind of like, you know, I never really been hurt. So, and not just being hurt, but I tore my shoulder, had a reconstruction to my shooting arm, my left shoulder. So at that point, it was more about how do you propel from this position when basically the writers wrote me off. Everybody kind of went away and gravitated towards, you know, Baron Davis, Paul Pierce, a lot of my peers who kind of ascended forward after that, because for the most part, I was one of the top players in our city. And, you know, I had to take a sit for about 8 months. I had to take a seat and sit back and watch everybody else. So it was more mental. You know, whenever you have an injury of that magnitude, we're talking 6 months of a recovery and probably about a 4 months of rehab. So that's pretty much the whole year. And I was a McDonald's All-American that didn't play in the game because they said I had to play my senior year. And since I had to sit out, they wouldn't let me play in the game, but still honored the letter that I got to that level because I was voted in unanimously by all the writers. So I was a little upset because that was like something that I was really looking forward to. Yeah. And I was trying to get back so I'd be able to play in that game. So when that didn't happen, it was just more of a chip that was built on my shoulder when I came back to show what I could do.
So obviously, a kid of your caliber is being recruited by everybody in the country. If you can remember, what school did it come down to? What 2 schools did it come down to for you?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, it was tough. I was really heavy on Syracuse. I was always, you know, I took a visit. They played Georgetown. I can remember my point guard Jason Hart was there at the time. Growing up, we played AAU ball together. You know, I used to watch Derek Coleman, Billy Owens, and, you know, the whole Red Archery, the whole crew, Dave Johnson, you know, Mike
Don't forget
Hopkins.
Stevie Thompson from out in LA.
Yeah, I wasn't done. You know what I'm saying? Mike Hopkins from California, too. He played at Mater Dei. So, and then Stevie obviously went to Crenshaw. LaRon Ellis went to Mater Dei also. So they had already had a California pipeline. Right. But the situation for me, I just felt, you know, it wasn't quite ideal for what I was looking for at the time. And, you know, I was looking at UConn. That was another one. Obviously, UCLA was in there, USC, and Long Beach State. And I decided to go to Long Beach initially to play with my brother. Then he chose to go hardship. And, you know, I reopened I wrote a letter up, reopened my commitment up to other schools. The NC2A, they validated the letter. So I was re-recruited all over again and then signed with UCLA. And obviously a lot of the information is in the documentary, but at that time, I was looking to go somewhere and play a year or 2 and kill and then go to the league. And obviously my career went a different direction, but people got to understand 2 years of my career was taken away from me fighting the NC2A situation when I did nothing wrong. You know, the crime that I committed, when I was the best out. I was the best out and I wasn't taking money. And they couldn't control me, so they wanted to send a message. And when people see the documentary, they're going to understand, like, it's real. If it could happen to me, the number 1 player in the country in '95, it could happen to anybody. And that's why I made the documentary, because I wanted the world to recognize that the horror stories, when you have it all, you make it to the mountaintop, then you fall and nobody's there to lift you back up. God rebuilt me. I'm here today, to help the kids. I'm a vessel. So it's not about me. It's about how many kids I can impact, and understand that the reason why I did this film is so it doesn't happen to anyone else's kids. And that's what's most important.
Nah, beautiful. Beautiful, man. Because, I mean, and let's be honest, right? There's going to be more people in your position than the ones that actually make it. So they need to know. So,
Exactly.
Talking about that, can you imagine if you came up, if there was social media back then, or if there was a Nike EYBL circuit back then for you? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, everything that happens right now is online, on YouTube, or on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever the case may be. That wasn't the case when you were coming up. So
Right.
talk about, like, grown men. Like, I know there was things that were offered to you when you were coming up at an early age: sneakers, sweatsuits, whatever. Like, what is that like? Was it overwhelming for you?
Not at all. I think I had a lot of recognition. I was getting a lot of notoriety and attention from handlers, sneaker companies, and stuff like that. Even agents and stuff from young, like sixth, seventh grade. I mean, I was basically a childhood prodigy. I was on the map nationally in the sixth grade at Scholastic Sports America, and Sunkist Kids was the biggest thing we had for ESPN. We didn't have the social media with YouTube and Instagram and Facebook at that time, so you couldn't just post your videos and your photos and stuff that same night of that game, or a clip during the game, the post where you could have 1 million followers at the end of the game. I didn't have that. People had to come watch me play. So I think all of the attention, and the gifts and whatever the case may be was warranted, but I wasn't taking the money. And I think that's what people need to realize. Like, I was a little different from the rest because I was brought up to earn my keep. And, my father and mother wasn't really with all that, paying me. And, it was like, when you're good enough, they're going to find you, and your talent's going to warrant the dollar when it's time. Until then, you keep honing your skills. So it was a little different approach for me. And I think that's what was hard, because it was like, man, I did it the right way and it didn't work. And I seen so much corruption around me, and all those guys got rewarded. So it really messed with my head for some years, and I dealt with a lot of depression. I want people to understand that I'm not here just by accident.
Right.
God had a plan for my life, and the fight that I had inside of me is what allowed me another opportunity. But I had to come at it from a different angle. I had to focus on other people and get out of my own way.
So now you went to UCLA in '95. Was that the year that they won the national championship, or the year after?
So they had the year after they had won it, and then I think the year that I was in there with Barron, Earl Watson, Travis Reed, and Billy Knight, rest in peace, he passed away. We that team that I was on when I left, I think they went to like the Elite Eight that year, or maybe the Sweet 16. But I felt like if I was on that roster, that we would have won a title at that time. Once I signed, it was like too much talent at one school, I guess. But everybody else was cool, but except me. So I was going through freshman summer program right before our quarter started, getting all my grades, everything was good, and then my proctor for the test came up to me and gave me this newspaper, and it says NC2A validates Cotton's test score. I mean, this is the last day of our summer school before we're getting ready to start our conditioning. I mean, you could have bought me for $1, man. I was like, this is unreal. Like, why are these people messing with me? Like, for me, went on, as far as my career was concerned, it was tough. It was really tough.
Now, you kind of hit on it before I could even get to it. So if you walked into that, when you walked into that St. Thomas More gym for the first time, if you looked up on that wall, then you seen the 1992 NEPSAC champion. and obviously you did your thing there. how did you feel about that as a black man, and what's your, what's your take on that and your stance?
Well, let me say this. The George Floyd thing didn't sit well with me at all. It was a rage that was rumbling inside of me. And, even right now, I'm in the streets, I see, the white folks and, white males or whatnot in the streets. I'm sizing everybody up. Like, you ain't about to do me like that. So, stay ready, don't got to get ready. And, I kind of came up in this city in a mentality that you got to go out here and get to it, and you got to be on point. And when you're a black man in society, we have to represent ourselves a certain way. You have to remain professional. We're going to be exposed to a lot more oppression and, injustices and just downright things that are wrong. But we have to build those mental, emotional muscles so we can withstand and still be successful in our endeavors. And, let me say this. The black community, we need to treat each other better, first and foremost. We need to treat our brothers and sisters, with love and kindness, like we supposed to. Because at the end of the day, it's each one teach one. It takes a village to raise a child. So we got to start there. In every major city, if we came together and said, you know what, no more black on black crime. We're going to start building community centers up. And whoever makes it out the hood, you got to come back and build these kids up and put money into these foundations and things so we can change this narrative. Okay? We got to start there. All the other stuff, the white man, this and that, I don't use no excuses. Okay? We know it's harder for us. And there's two standards here. Okay? There's the way they see it and the way they see us. All right? Now, beyond that, I think since this has happened, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of unity in our country in every race of people, which is a blessing. There's other races that's tired of seeing these injustices and the systemic racism as well. So the George Floyd thing, it was hard for me to watch. I mean, my mother watched it and, it was like, it could be me or my brother, at the end of the day. And who wants to see that? So where is that okay? And this man that did that hasn't been sentenced yet. He bailed out. So explain that. How do you, it's a double standard. If it was a black man that was doing that to a white man, he'd be buried under the jail and they'd be sentencing right away.
Right.
That narrative has to change. It's got to be the same across the board, no matter what color you are. But I don't know if we'll see that in my lifetime, your lifetime. But I tell you what, if I can do my part to make this world a better place and kids to follow in my footsteps to, to reach back and help others when they're in a position, then I did my job, and that's what I focus on.
Nah, no question about it. So, you killed a lot of dudes back in your day. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of dudes that went on and made it. You know what I'm saying? As you're doing your thing and you're doing your thing with kids right now, with the documentary and getting, snowballing. Has
Right.
anybody reached back out to help your cause? Like, you know what I mean? Because everybody talks great about you, but like you said, like, I'm big on let's support each other, right? Let's bring each other up. So,
Right.
I tell kids right now, like, this is my NBA now. This is your
Right.
NBA. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I didn't make it on the court, but I'm still impacting lives. This is now my NBA. I didn't make it, and I was supposed to. Everybody said I was supposed to, but I'm still here, and I'm still happy, and I'm living a productive life. So, does anybody reach back to help you push this thing forward?
Great question. Nobody really has, with the exception of my man Jay Crossover, and he got me for life. Jamal Crawford. We actually came out together in the pre-draft of '99, 2000, and we spent a lot of time together. Coming up and played, Carson B-ball, Dorsey High School before he finished in Seattle, and it was godsend. I mean, we got on a phone call. I think it was probably about 6 months back, and just had a light conversation. And he said, "Look, he respects the man that I am today, and he wanted to do something for me." So, we had a conversation, and he slid something to me, and he blessed me. And he didn't have to do that; he felt led to do it. And I told him, that it's going to be the best money that you ever put out. So, since then, a lot of doors have been opening, and a lot of great things are taking place. But some of my peers right down here today could have did the same thing, but chose not to. So, which is fine. I'm not asking for no handouts. At the end of the day, this is going to go to help a lot of kids across the country. so it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Nah, no doubt about it. I love that. I love that. And so, are there for you, are there any regrets in your journey? You know, is there like something that inside of you that, like, if I would have did this, then maybe this would have happened? Like, have you ever had those thoughts? Is there anything that you regret in your journey?
No, not at all. I mean, the only thing that I would change is I wouldn't have went to college. I just would have went straight to the league. I wouldn't have bothered with being recruited and did all of that. I mean, Jerry West was at my games my sophomore year in high school. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so God has a plan for all of us. It's just a matter of how strong is your faith, and how bad do you want what it is that you're embarking on, that you say you want. You got to go through stuff that you've never been through if you want to get something that you've never had. And a lot of people want to go to heaven, but they don't want to die.
Mm-hmm. Nah, no question about that, man. So, you know, as we wind this thing down, I want to hit you with some questions that, um, that we need some quick answers to. But first
Okay.
thing, I want you to tell me the story. I believe you were in summer school,
Mm-hmm.
right? They had
Uh-oh.
the big, they had, the, you know what I mean? Now you in summer school now, but
Right.
they had the big tournament out there, and KG and them was out there.
That's right.
And I think if you know what I mean, and I don't want to give away too much of it, but I think the words was, my services were needed.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Okay.
it.
Tell the viewers about that. Tell the viewers about that story, right? Because there's so many basketball stories like that. Like, yo, this dude showed up in the second half and scored 40. Like, there's so many legends out there, right? That of these phenomenal things that people have done. Tell us about that story, man, going out there for that.
Man, I was at summer school, like you said, for a D that I got in a math class, and one of my teachers at Modern Day, and I all my other classes I passed, and I felt like he did that purposely because he had it in for my coach. He was the baseball coach, and my high school coach kind of had like free reign in the school. He was the man, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of a jealous thing. And my AAU coach called me and told me, listen, they're flying KG in. They got Paul already. Barron's on the team. We need you. So I said, go send the ticket. Sent the ticket, went out there. Gym was packed, playing at UNLV in the North Gym. It was probably like 3,000, 4,000 people in there, packed to capacity. I'm talking John Thompson's in the front row, Rory Williams, Coach Krzyzewski, Lute Olson, Jim Herrick, all the top schools in the country. Went out there, did my thing, had like 38 or 40. I think we lost by like 7 or 9, something like that. The rest of my squad just, couldn't get no extra help, man. Guys were flat. They wasn't stepping up. And, I probably needed to score 50 or 60, but I put on a show, dunked on KG about 2 or 3 different times. He tried to contest it. And, I was a pit bull off a muzzle, man. I had a 41-inch vertical leap in my prime. So, there wasn't too many things that I was backing down from. And, the centers I used to enjoy dunking on because they were always slower off the ground. KG was like a tarantula. He was something different. I mean, I'd never seen a guy like that with that kind of motor and that kind of skill, and I knew he was going to be special.
No doubt about it. So again, the biggest tag that I've seen is LeBron before LeBron. But who do you think your game is more modeled after, right? Because in my eyes, I see Harold Miner when I watched you play.
Yeah, that
You
was my
understand?
guy, David Jordan, right? That was my
Yeah,
guy
so
with the.
the whole lefty thing, the muscular build, obviously the athleticism. Like, who would you have compared your game to coming up?
Well, I like the writers. I'm not sure who did it, but they compared me. They said I was a combination between Jordan and Barkley. So I like that combo because Barkley had that brute rawness, and Jordan was just a dog. So I put both of those together. I think that was a good comparison. But for me coming up, my favorite player was Ron Harper in the Cleveland years. So
Mm,
I'm a real historian, man. I watched a lot of basketball.
mm. That's not something you're gonna hear too often. I ain't heard that one before. When we talking about favorite players, you understand what I'm
That's right.
saying? Like,
That's right.
Ron was nice. Everybody know Ron was nice in Cleveland, but I ain't never heard nobody say Ron was their favorite player.
Yeah, in
Okay,
Cleveland. That's when I really started to, when I first started hooping at Peck Park, I was playing for the Cavs. So that
okay.
was the association, and I watched him and Brad Doherty and, Hot Rod Williams and Price over there, Mark
Mm-hmm.
Price. So they had a squad, Craig Elo. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I was learning as I was growing. and I was aware of Jordan, but everybody liked Jordan. I'm the type of guy, I don't like to do what everybody else does anyway. So that's just the Taurus in me.
No doubt about it. So the great Tom Kachowski said that the term man-child was made for Schea Cotton. Is that where you said, listen, was that because Tom Kachowski said it, or you just like, that just hit me, that hit the nail on the head? You don't understand what I'm saying? Like, how did you come down with the man-child doc, for the name of the documentary?
Well, the writers gave that to me when I was playing, probably around the time when I became the number one player in the country, and Sports Illustrated did that spread, that 4-page layout. Just looking at my game, watching me play, they said I was like a man amongst boys, and I think that it stuck. I mean, it was very fitting at the time, and still sticks with me today because, I have a youthful look. I mean, after all the years, I still am able to take care of myself so I can be presentable. And the man child is not just about basketball. I think it's a way of life. For me, it's a mentality that I'm implementing into these kids that I deal with. And it's about, don't just do something, be the best at what you do, and make sacrifices and be a professional. Treat people the right way, be accountable, come early, stay late. Strengthen your faith, be respectful to your parents and whoever the elders are that are invested in you. Do it for them.
So for you, right? Because like I said, you killed a lot of people. But if you can give me 3 of your toughest opponents in high school, who would they be? So maybe they didn't get the best of you, but they made it tough on you, or you looked forward to playing them. Who would they be?
Well, top to bottom, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, number one, meta world peace. Um, this area, tons of talent. I mean, LA has so many guys that make the NBA. I mean, it's just not even funny. So we had a lot of talent considering all the things that could take you off course. There was guys along the way that I would play against. I think my brother was one of the tougher defenders that I would face, and that's what helped me gain confidence to play against my peers and really own them because he was 2.5 years older, and I really had to step my game up and be solid. And then some of his teammates, Joaquin Hawkins, that played at Long Beach State, played with the Houston Rockets, I believe, with Steve Francis. We had wars playing one-on-one, so that just prepared me. So when I was playing against NBA guys, I was used to guys that age because I would face these guys in the spring and summer. And in my workouts, I worked out with Ed O'Bannon, my brother, Tom Lewis, various different players, Stevie Thompson. So I was ready.
Nah, no doubt about it. So, best game you felt like you ever played at any point? Like, what was that game? Like, I had it going. It could have been that game against KG. It could have been the 40 against, that you had at Alabama. What game where you was like, listen, man, I was just out of this world? And I'm sure there were a ton of them, but
Yeah, I
give me
think
one that sticks out.
there's a few of them. The one that sticks out, I would say, state championship game in '95. Having my way pretty much throughout the game. Uh, they was trying to punk our team. Oakland Fremont's like the Crenshaw, the Bay, and I wasn't having it. I was ready, and I was eager to win the title, and we had a great team, and I stepped up. I basically stepped up. They put me at the top of the key at the end of the game to seal the victory. We got the W, and I just remember that whole experience. I felt like I was on a cloud. I was the number one player in the country after that. Nike had a lifetime deal with my high school, Gatorade as well. Sports Illustrated that did a 4-page layout, and that summer is when we played against Lamar Odom in there. It was the Long Island Panthers. I had 38 against them, and then everything changed when I had that injury in that game. I had 38 in 3 quarters. I probably would have had 60 when the game was over. So, on a high school level, when you're the number one player in the country and you're
Mm-hmm.
did I lose you?
Nope, we here. We here.
Okay.
We here.
Yeah, that would be the main one. I think college, college was a slap in the face. I could have did a lot more, and that's what really upset me because I felt slighted from my talent and what the world was able to see. Like, they saw Kobe, but they didn't see me. So I had to sit back and watch Kobe and everybody else I used to kill that got the nod when I never even got the opportunity and I didn't do no wrong. So it was kind of like I was, leaning on my faith, like, God, why would you allow this to happen to me? And what he showed me was because I'm preparing for something bigger.
And you feel like you're there right now.
I'm operating in that space. I'm in my purpose, and I'm grateful for that. That I didn't do what I was going to embark on doing, and I wouldn't be here today. I was real close to killing myself. So I want people to watch the doc so they can see some of those trials and how dark it really got.
No question. So you're about to have a dinner at your place, and you can invite any 3 people to that dinner, dead or alive. Who would they be?
Wow. My dad.
Big James.
Yeah. I'd probably say my father. Man, that's a tough one. 3 people. Man, you came with a good one today.
Listen. I got to do something, man. I got to get it right.
Yeah, I'd probably say my father, Marvin Rinovich, who's no longer here, and
Jesus himself.
The Lord upstairs. That's it. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yep.
Jesus
I like to have a talk with him.
Yeah,
for sure. Talk with him. What do you have in store for me next?
He'll show it to you.
Yeah, for sure.
I can show you. He said, "I'll show you. I can show you better. I can tell you." So my last question, and I always end it off with this, is when it's all said and done, when it's done, how does Schea Cotton want to be remembered?
As someone that never quit and that would give you the shirt off his back if he had to.
Period. End of story. Now, I appreciate that. Listen, man, I appreciate you making this time for me to come tell your story. I've watched the documentary and I loved it. Everybody else, go watch the Manchild documentary. You're not going to be disappointed. Listen, OG, I appreciate you, dog, for coming on here, man, and and sharing this story with everybody and continuing to influence this younger generation and tell your story, right? Because we're going to have a lot of good basketball players, but there's not going to be a lot that are going to enjoy the high school career and the notoriety that you did and do it at the level that you did in high school, right? So, listen, man, if it can happen to the guy that was at the top, it can definitely happen to you. And there's so many lessons that could be learned in your failures. And, I know it sucks, like it had to happen to me, but it had to happen to somebody. And the fact that you're still here to be able to tell that and maybe push somebody in a different direction speaks volumes. I appreciate you, man. And God bless anything that you're doing, man. Like I'm a fan.
Absolutely. I thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to reiterate, send everybody streaming now, Manchild documentary. Go watch it. Amazon Prime Video, iTunes. Don't wait. Go see it right now.
Nah, no question about it. And don't forget, we St. Thomas More alumni. We family.
That's right. That's right. Bless up, man. You be safe out there too, bro.
All right,
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Bless up.
Yes, sir.